Jodie Ramsey issues a chilling threat to David Platt in tonight's Coronation Street as their storyline takes a darker turn. Fans will know that manipulative Jodie has recently been ingratiating herself into David and half-sister Shona's lives, including tricking David by pretending to be his wife in bed. However, Jodie has now falsely alleged that David said her name in bed rather than Shona's, with the fallout airing in the latest episode. While speaking to Maria Connor, David addresses Jodie's claims, Maria arguing his state of drunkenness could back her version of events. He questions why he would make a pass at Jodie, though Maria notes that David had tried it on multiple times with her in the past. "Don't you go rewriting history," she teases him, adding, "I'm just saying you've got form." However, while she suggests Jodie could be telling the truth, Maria also brings up Jodie's argument with Daniel in the pub and his accusations of her being a liar, and proposes that David come clean with Shona. Sure enough, he goes to see Shona, who is in a bad mood after Jodie found a textbook earlier belonging to Lily on child development and mentioned normal babies, Shona taking it as a dig towards baby Harper. However, when Shona suggests he distract her with gossip, David sees his moment pass. Later on back home, David decides to have a one-on-one chat with Jodie, backing up Daniel's accusations and suggesting she is lying about a lot of things. However, she threatens him in response, declaring, "Do you know what I say to that? Don't push me, David, 'cause if you do I could land you in a whole universe of trouble." What will David do? It comes after actor Jack P. Shepard recently teased dark times ahead for David and Shona in an exclusive chat with Digital Spy. "It won't happen to the baby," he shared. "It's something family-orientated for the Platts. They've been through tough times before, and they're going to go through something tough again." The cobbles of Coronation Street have seen their fair share of secrets, betrayals, and explosive confrontations, but nothing quite prepared viewers for the unsettling turn of events involving Jodie and David Platt in the latest early ITVX episode. What began as a seemingly routine morning in Weatherfield quickly spiraled into a tense psychological showdown that left fans questioning just how far Jodie is willing to go, and whether David has finally met a situation he cannot talk his way out of. The episode opens with an eerie calm. David Platt, still recovering from recent turmoil in his personal life, is attempting to regain control of his fractured world. He is seen juggling family responsibilities, managing strained relationships, and trying, perhaps optimistically, to convince himself that things are finally settling down. But in Weatherfield, calm rarely lasts long. Jodie's arrival changes everything. At first, she appears almost casual, weaving into the familiar rhythm of the street with an unnerving ease. Her demeanor is controlled, almost too controlled, as she approaches David outside the corner shop. There is no immediate confrontation, no raised voice, just a quiet intensity that immediately signals something is off. Viewers familiar with Coronation Street's storytelling style will recognize this as the calm before the storm. Jodie begins with subtle remarks, referencing past events in a way that makes it clear she knows more than she should. David, initially dismissive, attempts to brush her off with sarcasm and deflection. But Jodie doesn't bite. Instead, she leans into the conversation with a chilling composure, dropping hints about information she has gathered. Information that could unravel David's carefully rebuilt life. The tension escalates when Jodie follows David back toward the Platt household. What could have been a passing encounter turns into something far more invasive. Inside the familiar walls of number 8 Coronation Street, David attempts to reassert control, insisting that Jodie leave and stop stirring up trouble. But she refuses. Instead, she delivers a message that shifts the tone of the entire episode from drama to psychological thriller. "I'm not here to argue," she says calmly. "I'm here to remind you what happens when people like you forget their mistakes." The words hang in the air like a warning siren. David's reaction is immediate, anger mixed with unease. He tries to challenge her, demanding clarity, but Jodie remains frustratingly composed. It becomes clear that she is not interested in shouting or chaos. Her power lies in restraint. Every sentence she delivers feels calculated, as if she has rehearsed this confrontation many times before arriving at the doorstep. The most unsettling moment comes when Jodie makes a direct threat, not loud or explosive, but quiet and precise. She references consequences that would not only affect David but ripple outward to his family, including those he has fought hardest to protect. The implication is enough to shift the atmosphere in the room entirely. Suddenly, David is no longer the confident, quick-witted character fans are used to. He is cornered, forced into a defensive silence that speaks volumes. As the confrontation unfolds, flashbacks are interwoven into the narrative, hinting at a shared history between Jodie and David that has not yet been fully revealed. Brief glimpses suggest a past encounter involving deception, broken trust, and unresolved fallout. The episode cleverly avoids revealing the full truth, instead allowing tension and speculation to build. Outside the Platt house, life on the street continues as normal. Children pass by, neighbors chat, and the world of Weatherfield remains oblivious to the psychological battle taking place behind closed doors. This contrast heightens the sense of isolation within the scene. David is physically surrounded by his world, yet emotionally trapped inside a situation he cannot easily escape. Jodie's control of the situation becomes more apparent as she begins setting conditions rather than making demands. She outlines expectations for David's behavior moving forward, hinting that any deviation could trigger consequences he would regret. The shift is subtle but significant. This is no longer a confrontation, it is a warning disguised as negotiation. David attempts to regain footing by questioning Jodie's motives. Why now? Why come back into his life at this moment? But Jodie sidesteps the question, suggesting that timing is irrelevant. What matters, she implies, is that she has decided to act, and once she does, there is no undoing it. The emotional weight of the scene builds steadily. David's frustration is palpable, but so is his fear. For a character known for his resilience and scheming intelligence, this rare moment of vulnerability stands out. He is not outwitted in a traditional sense. Instead, he is psychologically outmaneuvered. As the episode nears its climax, Jodie delivers the most chilling line of all. Leaning slightly closer, her voice drops just enough to force David to focus entirely on her words. She makes it clear that she is not interested in reconciliation, apology, or closure. What she wants is compliance, or at the very least, silence. People in your family have a habit of disappearing when things get difficult, she says quietly. Don't test whether that still holds true. The threat lands with devastating effect. David's expression shifts from defiance to alarm, and for a brief moment, the audience is left uncertain about what he might do next. Call her bluff? Report her? Or try to handle the situation in the same messy, impulsive way that has defined so many of his past mistakes. The episode ends on an unresolved note. Jodie leaves the house without further incident, walking calmly back onto the street as though nothing significant has occurred. But the damage is done. David is left standing alone, visibly shaken, forced to confront the possibility that this is not just another Weatherfield misunderstanding, but the beginning of something far more dangerous. In the final shot, the camera lingers on David's face as he processes the threat, the weight of uncertainty settling over him. The familiar comfort of Coronation Street feels briefly disrupted, as if a new and unpredictable force has entered the narrative. What makes this episode so gripping is not physical action, but psychological pressure. Jodie's introduction as a calm, calculating presence adds a new layer of tension to the street, one that promises long-term consequences rather than short-term drama. David Platt, a character who has survived countless storms, now faces a challenge that cannot be easily solved with wit or manipulation. As viewers speculate about Jodie's true intentions and her connection to David's past, one thing is certain: Weatherfield is about to become a far more dangerous place to call home. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation Street Scoop News Update.